the shifts in mind. That's enough. Because then it's kind of like when you eat and you don't get full until later, like 20 minutes later, then you feel full. So you smoke and it's like you start to feel it. That means you're really going to feel it in 20 minutes. So that's the time to cut it out. And there's the stuff. There you go. It's called self-control and discipline and loving oneself. Not needing to escape. Because one loves one's life. Doesn't one?
Like a birth chart.
I am a birth chart. Close the curtain. Not the blue one. There you go. No. What?
When one lost their life.
When one's one. Wait, what?
It's almost like a song for all ex-girlfriends. Goodbye, horses.
Dang, phone turned on. Is that 100%? Oh, it's time for a new one. I want to buy some property soon, so I'm trying not to spend money, but okay, well, forget that. See if you can just get that turned on again.
Yeah.
And then we'll just stream to this other device. Turn
I
on.
had a vision that you got this house and you let me live in there, and then we rented it out to another girl, and I ran the house for you, and they paid a bunch of rent, and you made a bunch of money, and I took care of the house for you, and I got to live there.
But you would live there, but other girls would live there?
Yeah, it was
So
like
you would live with other
renters,
girls?
other girl renters.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-bedroom house, and there was like 2 other roommates who were paying rent.
Those girls would have to already be compliant to me. I wouldn't want to just rent it to females like that. Females take less care of shit.
Yeah, I in my vision, I was the caretaker.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be responsible for a bunch of bitches. They're not going to take care of it. It's going to be a big headache for you. It's not going to be as good as you think. Especially if they're not obedient to me, then there's nothing you have to say over them. It would be a big headache. I mean, I don't mind having a property that you pay me rent for, but as far as, I don't know, my ideas could change, but that's my initial thought. Apply my intelligence. Will you hand me that? Wait, where's my shirt? Never mind, it's up here. That's my first thought when you say that. I mean, I'm just applying to my intelligence to what you told me. Okay, so did the phone turn on?
The phone has not turned on. Oh yeah, it turned on. It was always on.
Okay. Goodbye, horses. Live on TikTok. 24,000 people there listening to me.
Really?
Dang, it's at 10%. It was just at 100%. I fucking need a new phone. A new second phone. You ain't even cool until you have at least 3 iPhones.
You want my old second phone?
No, not that piece of shit. Nah.
It's better than that one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, then maybe.
Also, I would.
Okay, so I'm going to set up the live here for which Instagram? Which Instagram should I do? I'll do this Instagram. Selling your value. I don't have any link anywhere for people to join anything. All right, TikTokers are joining. What's up? And now we're live on Instagram. Also, selling your value. We should add some kind of emoji there. Maybe the double exclamation mark. That's what I'll do. Pin it. Ice. Pin it. Just like wrestling. Pin it. Pin it. The guy at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, the sensei, he didn't charge because I told him because I can only make like one class a week right now. I was just at the point, the schedule had changed just enough where it was like, I'm gonna keep this so it stays on me because I'm sweating.
Okay.
The guy at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, because I was just getting to the point where I could take like 3 classes a week, but then the schedule shifted and I could only make 1. But there is this 4th class that I was about to be able to start making, but then I chose to do my new yoga class at the yoga studio at that time, 2 p.m. on Sundays. And so I'm thinking of even shifting the time on the Sunday yoga class so that I can do this jujitsu class or whatever. But so I was just about to text him, like that day I was going to text him that I'm going to cancel the membership and just pay walk-in fee each time because it would make much more sense to do that. And then I noticed I was charged because it was an auto pay. So I texted him and was like, next month, just to let you know, I'm going to be canceling it just to do like walk-ins. And he said, no problem. You know, he knows I started this academy and that I'll be teaching wrestling and whatever. And he just refunded the money and then, which I didn't ask for. It was fine. I mean, I don't mind, but like, you know.
That's interesting you're going through that because I was just thinking about canceling. Like I get my workout programs, like I pay to just get a new program every month, but I don't participate or speak to anyone about it. It just gets emailed to me. And I was thinking about canceling it, but then it came up in my meditation that I should actually just communicate with her and just ask her like what I should do for my next level up. And that's what I was gonna ask you about.
Yeah, it matters, you know, how much time you want to put into it. Like I pay a bunch of money a month for this email program that I send emails from, but I find that a lot of days I just don't have time to send these emails.
Yeah.
And there are cheaper ways. And now I'm really integrated with it because it has like, it's integrated in my websites. Like when a lot of the email forms, when you sign up for my email newsletter is a form that goes through this like email service.
Yeah.
So I would need to change out all those forms and then just use like some free or cheaper email service like MailChimp or something. And
how much do you pay for it now?
A bunch. I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
So, and they just raised the price a little bit. And so I'm really underutilizing it, but they do give lots of support whenever I've asked for like some kind of a coaching session on it. And they give me like some Zoom session where they explain like I'm just not such a techie that there's so many capabilities I can do with this thing to make an online business. And I'm really using just like 2 or 3 features. One, like emailing, and then I have these forms on my website, and then like maybe one other thing that I'm using it for. I was using it a little bit more like a 4th or 5th feature when I was doing my yoga business through it. And it definitely made more sense when I was doing my yoga business through it. But I haven't, and I don't really plan on it. However, now that I'm offering this yoga thing, there's opportunity to utilize that more. I just got to use it if I want to, get all the value out of it. Just like the membership to the jiu-jitsu. It's worth it if I had all the time to go to all the classes. It'd be well worth it. There's like 12 classes a week there, all kinds of I would go to all the classes, and then it would be like $3 a class, and that's totally worth it.
Right.
Because I mean, they also have mats, they have showers, like just that's worth it. Like they keep it clean, which costs money and time to do that with wrestling stuff. So it'd be totally worth it. But when you're going as rare as I'm able to go, so then I was going to send him the money after I left for the drop-in, which I was like $20 for drop-in, right? And he was like, didn't want to charge me. Said, maybe just do a wrestling seminar and I was like, so it just started that negotiation of like some exchange where I just do that and show up because whatever, he sees the value in it.
That's cool.
Yeah, but why was I bringing that up?
Because of selling your value.
Well, that's the name of this, but I haven't.
Yeah, but it feels like you want to intro it.
Yeah, I don't know what the intro was going to be. If I record this, I can make it like an official podcast, I suppose. Why is the camera not showing on the YouTube? There we go. Dang, bunch of people on YouTube. Here, let me give you guys the Zoom link on the YouTube stream so you can join there. Whoa. Huh. I was typing hard. Zoom to 77449821. Okay, join up. There we go. All right. Okay, welcome TikTokers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, and the penultimate Zoomers. This thing. What's up, everybody? This is a special episode, Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. Goes on all of the platforms, Apple, Spotify, etc. I'm Yogi Chris, PhD, the founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, captain of IMC Nation, streaming to you here from IMC Base 1 in San Jose, California, where I live with the founder of IMC Nation, AZD, and this is a show about enlightenment, masculinity, spirituality, some of those things that I offer, although I am rarely selling myself. I've made it so that as part of a movement, I'm that guy that brings everyone to the movement and lets the movement be known, lets the world know about it, and gives them the right mentality, the right words and concepts so that they progress down this line of thinking. Because if you tried to learn calculus before you learn trigonometry, if you try to learn trig before you learn algebra, try to learn algebra before you learn arithmetic, if you try to learn arithmetic before you learn your times tables, you know what I'm saying? You try to learn your times tables before you even understand like plus minus, basic stuff, before you can even count to 10. There's like a structure. You got to start somewhere. But, if you're 40 years old, you may not want to start with counting. But if you never learned how to count, you're not going to learn calculus until you learn counting. You could try. Maybe somebody can understand all the symbols and everything. But at the end of the day, when you try to solve the problem, you got to understand numbers to know, like, you just got to count. Like one of the guys that's trying to get into IMC, he never learned math, really. He dropped out of school in 8th grade from another country, and he's had odd jobs all throughout, but he never really learned counting. So he's never going to succeed with money it's just never. So knowledge is built on prior knowledge. To the point where you actually a lot of times forget prior knowledge. You'll forget some of the fundamentals in, like, let's say for wrestling. I'm relearning how to teach beginners. So we started an IMC Warrior Academy, where the main offering is a street self-defense system known as Panjo that AZD developed. And then it makes a lot of sense that my wrestling background and my yoga background, and especially just with my whole mentality and just my lifestyle, like the way I teach wrestling is very informed about the physical demands of combat sports. And the way that I practice and train wrestling is very informed about injuries and sustainability and longevity of practice. The way I do jujitsu is very aware. Like the guys, when I show up, they don't really warm up. And if I show up late, like today, because I had a meeting, so I missed the technique. And while they're finishing up the technique, I'm warming up my body. And then one of the guys has to go to the restroom. So the other guy asked me to come and drill with him, practice. And I was like, I'm still warming up, even though I was like, I felt like I could have, but I've done this enough in life and so many activities that without the right warm-up, like you think you're warm enough, and then when you pull something or whatever, and you're like, fuck, if I just spent 5 more minutes warming up instead of just jumping right into this activity. And that just takes a self-control, self-awareness, both mentally and physically, like when am I actually warmed up enough, and mentally, like I know I'm not warmed up enough, even if my body feels all right. I'm not just going to jump into it. Dang, battery's low. What, in the living room?
Oh, I thought you looked over here.
Yeah, so I'm going to pause the recording and then we'll come back with when I get the charger. And then guys that are live streaming, just hang tight for a second. I'm going to grab the charger. Okay, and then we'll click record again. Okay, we're back. So what I was saying is like sometimes you learn the fundamentals and then you move on to the intermediate techniques, you move on to the advanced techniques, you move on to the expert techniques. And you may be so far displaced from those beginner techniques that you kind of forget some of the beginner stuff. And getting back into like teaching or whatever, you have to start remembering the beginner stuff, because like you can't just teach advanced things to guys that don't have the structure, the foundation and fundamentals and whatever. So this happens in a lot of areas. And it's pretty amazing because from the beginning, like a white belt in any subject, metaphorically a white belt, you could be a computer programmer, you could be anything, you could be some kind of martial artist, you could be a hairdresser, you could be, you know, stock trader. Like if you're a white belt at something, the understandings of the black belt or of the master, the expert, the understandings of someone that's made it in that, like if you were getting into a new industry, you were a web designer, and versus the person that like manages the websites of like Fortune 500 companies, you know, that's probably a whole team, and there's a hierarchy, and the person that's leading whatever that web design company is probably not building too many websites of their own anymore. They're probably telling people, put this in there and adjust that and build this group of websites, and you need, and they're doing high level like planning of web designs, but they may not be doing too much typing at the keyboard, but they once did. And you know, some of the ideas of that person who's leading the company may be far beyond the understandings of the person just getting into web design. You know, the person that has, you know, gone up the ranks at a restaurant, and they were once the busboy, and then they were a waiter, and then they were, you know, something lower management, upper management, then they managed like the whole, then they owned a restaurant, or maybe they owned a few restaurants. Now they have, if they're succeeding, they're going to have a lot more understanding of advertising, promotion, customer service and relations, what, you know, how to navigate certain situations, you know, internal conflict between employees, you know, what, all sorts of situations that someone that's just getting into it may not really see the cause, like what effects they're causing, or, you know, just that's just in life. You know, if you're 14 years old and you get a job, you're going to have different wisdom about it than when you're 24 or 34 or 44. And you know, those conclusions that people have come to after years in the field, years boots on the ground of doing that activity, they may not even make sense to the newbie. And what you'll find is like also sometimes, you know, this happens like when you read, and especially I kind of read the subjects of philosophy. It's interesting. But in a lot of subjects, if you're reading, and you'll come across passages that like ring really true, and they're just like short phrases or something, like and it's like an inhale to your brain. It's like, wow, the truth of that. And you know what you're seeing, that truth is a conclusion that makes sense to you because you're on the same wavelength of thought, but you haven't worked out the ideas, that you haven't developed your ideas about the subject so far, and that sentence kind of propels you forward in understanding. That's what that breath is. It's like, wow, it just like accelerates your understanding. And that's the benefit of like the teacher-student relationship. You can really shortcut your journey, which would otherwise just be trial and error and trying to navigate life, by somebody giving you their experience that was earned through their time and effort and money investment and whatever it took for them to get there. And that's what you're paying for ultimately, is that shortcut. And one thing I realized this today after I take a little sip here. Let's take, for example, I'm teaching yoga for beasts at this New Warrior Arts Center, and there's some unique, as has always had to been. It would always have to be this way. If you start teaching yoga, like what's unique about your class? Why am I going to come to your class? There's 1,000 million trillion yoga teachers, and we know most of them are cookie cutters. They're duplicating something, that they're just parroting something. And so there's a couple things that you might want to go to that teacher for. One, they're parroting something that's very good. Let's say like Bikram yoga. They all duplicate exactly how he teaches it, the sequence, to everything about it. So if you like that sequence, then you should go to that class because it's going to be the closest thing to him teaching that you could get besides going to wherever, Thailand or whatever, and taking a class from him. So that's not unique to that teacher. That's just unique to whatever class they're teaching. That's why you could go to any time of the day, any day of the week to that studio, and you're going to get almost the same thing. There is a little differences in teachers, but they make it so that the teachers don't have an exact schedule like every Wednesday at 5. They can kind of have them on a rotation so that you can't really pick a preference of a teacher. You pick your time, and then there's whatever teacher that you deal with. That's how they do it. And then they have a really strict teacher training curriculum. So they all meet certain standards when they graduate. That would be like that example. Oh. Another reason you might go to the teacher if they don't really have a super unique offering is you like them. You want to support your friend, or they met you met them somehow in life, and you want to go and support. You're already into yoga, or you decided you were going to try it, and you'll try them first or whatever. So you like the person. So if you're not well liked in your community or around your friends, it's going to be tough to start teaching yoga or teaching anything, Pilates, fitness, anything, because who are going to be your students? Who's going to come and pay? And there could be various reasons. Like it would be easier for a female with a tight butt and yoga pants to get people coming to her class. They don't like her. They like her butt. You know what I'm saying? So, and she'll use that, and she may not admit it. She probably knows it, but she also probably hasn't worked it out in her thoughts so much. She's not a living philosopher. She's just barely getting by everything she does. And she's making use of whatever she can to get ahead. And that's what God gave her to get ahead, you know? That's what it is. And it'll bite her in the butt, so to speak, you know, when she's 40, 50, whatever. Oh, yeah. So, but then there may be other reasons, like what, you know, so they like the person, they more or less like you because of what value you offer in life as an influencer, through status, you know, through your beauty, and the guy or girl wants to be associated. The girl wants to go to the beautiful yoga teacher's class, even though her yoga sucks, because then they can take a selfie with her or be associated with her when they're out. Like it's a status thing. But then you would have some real value, some real unique things. So you're not just parroting someone's value. You're not just attracting people through like social value, but you don't have like a tangible thing to deliver. I would have a tangible thing to do. I focused on, you know, the therapy of the rotator cuff and the sacroiliac joint. I would offer acro yoga, and I knew how to base, and I was very good at it. Like when you learn acro yoga, you got to have a base and a flyer and a third person to help spot in case they fall. That's the process of like learning it. So being able to coach somebody through all those roles, or handstands, and a therapeutic, easy way to learn handstands without injuring, like a lot of people would injure. A lot of people like work at computers and on their cell phones a lot. And it's not exactly the best thing for your body to go from using like technology right to handstands, like 90-degree extension of the wrist and putting all your weight on this little wrist joint and doing that multiple times. Like you're going to fuck your wrists and shoulders up. And then it's going to hurt when you're typing, and then you're not going to want to do handstands anymore. So like the way to do that, like that was one of my offerings. And so it was a unique value. So regardless of if you liked me or not, I mean, if you didn't like me, you don't have to take my class, but you're also not going to find it elsewhere. All the handstand instructors, very few of them had any emphasis at all, let alone the whole subject matter being safe and healthy handstands. What?
So what you're saying then is you kind of find your unique niche on like it's obviously like all of these millions of teachers teaching handstands, but you found kind of like your niche. How did you know what yours was?
By doing it over and over and over and over again. And I was calling, first I would be teaching people, and then the feedback would, you know, what they would remark on. And, you know, there's difference between a feedback of a person who you are the first person that's ever taught them anything about yoga, or somebody that's taken 10 years of yoga, and then they give you some feedback. And then, so it's different, and you do that enough and you get enough feedback. And then, you know, I had a whole business. So I called 2,000 yoga studios over and over. So I made more than 2,000 calls. I taught many handstand workshops. So in talking with yoga studio owners, it's the same thing. What am I describing that's catching their ear? What's not catching their ear? When I teach the workshop, what feedback am I getting? What are they not remarking on? So I get to measure what is really of value to these business owners. And being that I want to win, I want to succeed, I just leverage my value. So where am I? Just because those, I don't think those were my best subjects. Those were just the best for me to build a business around at the time. because the subjects I might have been better at, like Ashtanga Vinyasa or
It was already
other
so
things,
much of it.
there's a lot of it, but then with that, there's a lot of experience with it. There's people who have been teaching 20, 30 years and 40 years, 50 years, and people that are into those subjects really want to tap into lineage and seniority and whatever.
Wow.
So I was focusing on like kind of newer things that
On
don't
this
have
modern
that.
edge.
Yeah, so that's what I would need to do. Meanwhile, I'm practicing my own practice, and
Sick.
it was a full lifestyle because I had to stay up to speed on all my offerings, plus do my own practice and run the business. And so I would have that unique thing, and I would leverage that, and I would keep honing it. Every event it'd get a little better, and I would take notes before and after and work it out. And it's impossible not to innovate if you stick with it. And I'm out of it a little bit, but I'm just saying, so with this martial arts center that I'm teaching yoga at, focusing on what's unique about what I offer, so as I run ads or as I promote myself in the community, like that's the thing. But then, so here's the realization is, as people come to the offering, the uniqueness and the value of the offering needs to continue. They can't get it all in the first class and then be done with it. And then they come to the second class and it's the same thing, third class, the same thing, and then they lose interest and don't want to do it anymore. So you keep adding uniqueness and value to it. And at some point they take 20 classes, 200 classes. Like, when do they get it all? Well, if you as the instructor are continually innovating, they may come as an understudy at some point, and ideally the ideal business model would be eventually they start teaching for you, because just like if I'm running the software company, I'm not doing all the computer programming at some point. I got so masterful that I hired them to do the basic stuff, and they do the basic stuff, and pretty soon everyone's doing the basic stuff and I'm just doing the advanced stuff. Pretty soon some of those basics guys do the advanced things. They hire, or I hire new basic guys to do the basics under them, so I can manage multiple projects, and then I become a project manager of the company, because I understand the ins and outs of everything, but I can do more good because I have higher level knowledge by running more. I expand that way. And so at some point, the yoga teacher maybe doesn't even teach that much yoga, but ideally has taught teachers to teach for them, and they run the business. They're still always practicing yoga, and they will always be teaching the teachers and advancing somebody, but maybe they don't teach the beginners anymore if they don't want to, or whatever. That's the chain of things. But ultimately, what a person, let's keep going with the yoga example. I could do this with wrestling. I could do this with the men's development program. I could do this with any offering.
Wow.
That as you're teaching, they're going to get so used to your character, so used to your personality, your responses, your ways of explaining things, your responses. I don't know if I already said that, but, hard times come, bills are tight, or, weather, injury, who knows, death in the family, like all sorts of things. They see your character in response to all of that. And on one end, let's using the yoga example, they really want that yoga. What you're teaching with the yoga, they can't get anywhere else. You've made it so that you're offering something that's needed and only you offer it. And so they'll go to any length. They'll travel across the country, whatever, to learn it from you. But if they don't like your personality, that's going to weigh on the value of the technique. They may study you remotely because they don't want to study you in person because they don't like you, but they like your technique. You can see how the opposite could be difficult also. If they really like you as a person, but your technique is garbage, man, it's just not that good. And they want to support you and they like you and help you, whatever, but they're not going to be so dedicated because they don't really believe in your shit. You need both. They got to like you and your shit's got to be really good. And as they come up, it's hard for people. Remember when I said the white belts aren't going to see the conclusions of the black belt. So I'm trying to give you some black belt conclusions and help you understand that the kind of character and personality, how do I want to say this? That more and more, like, okay, so they're coming to my yoga techniques and they love the yoga techniques. It helps them so much in their injuries in life. They're teaching and they can teach things. They're way advanced to other people because of what they've learned from me. They also want that feeling and experience with my character. So as they learn mannerisms, or they learn responses to life, let's say we go out to eat or we go to lunch after the yoga workshop or something, and they see how I interact with the business and how, my certainty, my movement, the music we listen to on the way, like how I drive, all these things that they're like, wow, this is value too. It's just the way he did that yoga technique is also the way he drives. It's also the way he interacts with the waitress. It's also the way he pays the bill. It's also the way he returns to the yoga studio. Like all of it is value. And so you'll get those higher level students when they admire your living, your lifestyle, in addition to the subject you're teaching.
Mm.
And so more and more as you advance 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, your students will be students of life of you, who have also adopted your techniques as a vehicle for their self-mastery. And then fast forward, go further, another 10 years. Imagine you live for 800 years. So you have a lot of years to get good at this thing. And at some point, you'll start getting students of life over students of yoga. You'll always be known as the yoga teacher, and you'll have your videos out there, and maybe occasionally you'll teach them yoga. But really the people that are coming to you are students of life because you taught yoga for so long. Those students got to know your life. They started appreciating your life. So you were able to develop your life differently because you're just like I would develop my yoga offering by teaching my yoga offering. As I'm teaching life, I get better at life. It's the same thing. You see the feedback where your responses are getting positive, it's affecting people, and you start to adjust and calibrate so that you give value. The trap is to depend on the external input. And so you end up calibrating yourself to fit the audience and losing yourself in that. So you got to be willing to lose everybody for your path again and again and again. Just because you make it, lose them again, lose that group, lose that. That's what I've done. I shed my wrestling team, I shed my PhD team, I shed my yoga team and teams before that.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So what I'm describing, when I say selling your unique value, or I forget what I called this, selling your value. Ultimately, your value is going to be in your character. Like if you were a web designer, guys aren't going to want to work for you if they don't like you. They got to like your web design skills, your business skills, your networking skills, how you get the big deals and everything. And also how you lead them in a management sense. But that's going to be really closely related to, do they like you? Do you have really cool, legitimate value, social value, status value? And more as you move on up, they're going to, are you raising your hand? What?
Like, how do you get people to like you professionally? Maybe that's a weird question. I mean, like, not like literally, but like, if you have any ways or anything, just like you meet someone new.
I mean, when the way that you framed that question is just like almost the techniques of how to win friends and influence people.
Okay.
Like just reading that book, and that'll have like, because my answer is like basics of respect, of etiquette, of self-respect. Like, how do I get people to like me? How much do you like yourself? And people are in delusions also about how much they like themselves, because they get in certain situations and you'll see them not liking themselves anymore. They're acting like they don't like themselves, like they carry themselves down. Like you could see someone like walking with their shoulders slunched and looking down, and you ask them, do you like yourself? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, well, why aren't you walking like you like yourself? So people are in a delusion about, do they really like themselves? But then people are on all sorts of delusions. There's people that think their yoga is great, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so not everyone's going to like you. I don't even know if it's going to be half the people. I think that just loving yourself, showing respect to yourself. So when people are not respectful to you, it's not about disrespecting them, but it's about where you put your attention and your energy, where you give your communication and your interaction to, and how you navigate the ups and downs and all of the complicated situations. When people witness that and they admire that, and they want to be like that. So you present yourself in a way that other people like, that they want to be more like that.
The reason I'm asking is because you kind of are making me wonder, like, thinking about myself in my podcast, and like when I have a new person come for 1 week, for example, and they don't want to participate, that's okay. Like maybe they're just listening, and I don't know if they like if they like it or they don't like it, if they like what I'm
right. You're in
saying or
that
don't.
space because you're allowing them not to participate. You're in that uncertainty about it because you're not interacting with them.
Right. Well, that's true, but then I'm wondering, like, how, if they liked it, they would come back again, but if they don't come
I
back.
don't know about that.
Really? Cause that's what I was wondering, like, how would I know if they liked it? If
You
they-
interact with them.
But I always think like if I put them on the spot or start asking them questions that they're not gonna wanna come back, cause I like put them on the spot and made them talk or something. So I'm never like, I don't wanna say coercive, but I'm never like encouraging of, like, let's say girl was on yesterday, new girl, she put on her camera to show the face exercises. But then like at the end, when we started to have conversation, she turned her camera off and then I didn't know how to like call on her because like multiple, or not call on her or to get her to participate, because multiple times I was like, well, what does everyone else think? Or what do you guys think? And then the other people would talk. But I don't know like how to get the new person to participate. And then usually the new persons don't come back, but my regulars always come back. Does that even make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would do what you're doing differently, and
Okay.
you don't want to do it the way I want to do it. So you're not going to take my advice. So, I mean,
Which is to ask them to put their camera on? Or how would you do it?
I would tell them to put their camera on. Because could be guys in the background.
Yeah.
Because they may not be paying attention, and it's just wasting your time. You're giving them energy, and they're not giving it, they're robbing you of energy. That's why you have all this doubt and insecurity about it afterwards. And it is an insecurity. It's like, I don't know if it was good or not. I don't know if it was good enough or not. That's
Well, no,
I've had
feel
that
like
same thing when people aren't, when I don't get enough feedback about something, and it's like, I don't know if it was good or not. That's an insecurity. And the solution is you solicit interaction. The point is interaction. If they don't want to give interaction, then you just tell them, I don't know if you're liking it or not because your camera's off and you're not giving any responses. So are you shy? I mean, this is just a women's group, you
I
know.
know sometimes I do. I think it makes people feel weird. It makes me feel weird.
You feel weird now.
I do.
So you're going to feel weird either way. So there's one way you're running from the weird feeling and you're creating a different weird feeling for yourself. That's the whole mental situation that the natural wouldn't do. The natural would handle it in the moment that, you know, this is creating a weird situation. Like I'm talking to a blank square that's named Jenny or whatever. Like, and I don't know if you're getting it or not. And I'm not just doing this to talk to myself. I mean, I could just like talk to a wall right now. But then, you know, there's other ladies on, and so they have their cameras on, you're interacting with them. You could go with that strategy and just make the interaction so good with the other girl that but then you keep inviting the other girl to turn your camera on, you know, whenever you feel comfortable and you want to interact.
I think that
And then
did
you keep
happen yesterday, actually. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so
But
just go with
Ella's
that.
camera inspired someone else.
Don't
to
name
turn it.
people.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So, okay, what I'm saying, because that's a different subject, so off the
Yeah.
subject, because I want to end this, is whatever you're offering, eventually it's going to be your character that you're offering at the higher levels. In the beginning, you're just selling some skill that you've acquired somewhere. So you're selling that you can do a task that you've taken the time, your lifetime, your life energy to learn something. So you can do something in a much less time than someone else can do it. So that's worth something to them. They pay you because they don't have to use their time. You'll do it in shorter time and they just pay you for it. And then you keep doing that, you advance in that, you evolve in that, and you'll be able to charge more, you'll be able to do more for the same amount of time, create a bigger effect and everything. You become more valuable as a skill, as a mechanism in the machine, as a robot almost. But then the human in you, do they like interacting with you? And for you to be able to scale whatever you're offering, you know, this is no, I won't change the subject. It was a related subject. I was going to say what a woman has to offer. What does she have to offer a man? But I'll get into that after I end the recording. So the conclusion, like I was saying, the black belt conclusion to the white belt is that you work on your character, that your character as a person is ultimately going to be your unique value. And then you have the skills that are the vehicle for people to understand that unique value, that you can get it across. Some more tangible service or product that they get will be the skill, the thing that you're selling about yourself, but it's your character that at the highest level is going to be the thing that people are going to buy from you. And as you develop, if you go into business for yourself as an entrepreneur and you're selling your service or product, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years down the line, it is going to be your character that's going to determine what business you attract and how big you grow. And so understanding that now not waiting 50 years to come to that conclusion, adjusting your character concurrently at the same time that you're doing your skills, that you're improving your skills that you offer, that you sell. And that's going to have a certain longevity. There's a lot of people that sell these like 6-week or 8-week transformation programs or whatever, and they're selling a skill set, and you could buy that skill set. But I don't think that you would want to continue to train with a lot of those individuals because they haven't mastered life. They've just mastered a presentation of a subject. And they've distilled it down and they've written it out and they've bullet pointed it and they've packaged it in a way that, okay, now you can get a really rapid transformation about this skill set. But it's not going to bring, like at the highest levels when you're selling your character, it's going to be peace of heart, peace of mind, living in peace. It's having peace in your life. So that whatever the skill that you're sharing, if I'm sharing yoga and wrestling, like that's not going to in and of itself give you peace. Yoga will get close because of just the nature of the practice or whatever, but it's not going to help you socially and how to interact in life and relationships. And that's where I brought in ninth limb yoga as a communication and relationships, the limb of yoga that wasn't addressed in the other 8 limbs. Because my idea was that if yoga doesn't make you a better communicator, then it's not good yoga. And that's how I'll teach wrestling also. So the people that are attracted to my yoga and my wrestling, they're going to get that information here at the white belt level. So it's like a North Star for what I'm offering, and keep going and fast forward. And that's the unique value. So selling your value. So when you're selling yourself, just remember you're selling that. So if you're selling your face massage or whatever kind of feminine podcast or whatever, it's your character. It's how to be, you know. Yes, I could see like Zay, if he had Monk Life Records, like, and you're signing new artists or whatever, it's how to be, how you are as president of Monk Life Records and how you interact with the tribe and how you organize deals and everything. And they get to see all of that and see your character and all of that. And they like you more and more, and they'll want to be apprentices under you, and they'll do the basics of the business as you elevate and you keep your role, but you expand and you have more power and more influence, and ultimately become an influencer in life, being president of a record label. And you'll have all kinds of networking and that are not within the record label, but like laterally with other kinds of industries and other influencers and other things, because they want to know you for the skill that you have, but then they'll really want to know you for they like you. And that's a social value. There's a value to you, you know, your cultural value and just everything that you bring, your presence, your social savviness. In IMC Nation, your understanding of females in social environments. That will set you apart from every other man. All right. And that goes for you too on TikTok. So when you study this IMC stuff, you'll be totally different. You'll be in the same world, the same venue and environment as everybody else, but you'll see it differently. You'll see the ones and zeros very differently on the male and female dynamic. And those are just words. You might think you already see that. You don't. You don't know anything until you join the program. The link is in the bio on Instagram and on TikTok. You can click that. On YouTube, you'll find the link all over the place. And everybody here on Zoom, thanks for showing up. This podcast gets posted on all the platforms. Like, share, subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. Click the link in the description to join up, the newsletter and everything else. Until next time, I'm Yogi Chris. I'll see you next time. Jai Gurudev.